Hey, we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. That show we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. Well, today, we're actually taking a quick look back at a game. It's been a long road, but it looks like this is the end for Baldur's Gate 3, with the newly released final patch, which is the 8th major patch for the game. This is where support is finally coming in to an end. So they still plan to release the occasional bug fix here and there, but this is it for any major new features. At least they're going out with a bang, though. They're adding in 12 new subclasses, crossplay, a photo mode, and hundreds of fixes in this absolutely massive patch. Seriously, like the patch list, the notes, this thing is over 16,000 words. It's like closer to a novella than a patch. This thing just does not stop. And that's just patch 8. They've added so much more in previous patches that we didn't cover. Stuff like a full in-game mod browser. In so many ways, Baldur's Gate 3 is like a significantly better game than when it launched out of early access back in 2023. It's been great for a long time, but the slow build has been awesome. There is a lot to get into here, so let's just roll. So yeah, 12 new subclasses, one for each major class in the game. Depending on the class, some of those are available right from the start. Some of them unlock at level 2, some of them unlock at level 3. They might not sound like much, just subclasses, right? But some of these are pretty amazing, and seems like they significantly change how you're playing the game. Sure, there are like a few that don't really seem like they'll be playing that all that differently, but there's some really exciting stuff here, like the Swarm Keeper, where you can command a swarm of bees to attack on command, or the Way of the Drunken Master monk that enhances your abilities when you're drunk, and it can make enemies drunk. The Hexblade Warlock is also especially interesting because they can cast these curses and use the corpses of dead enemies to summon like spirits that fight for you. A lot of the new classes are like this. Like for the most part, they're more than just simple additions. They often have unique strategies and cool synergies attached to them, it seems like. So it kind of encourages you to play very differently than the standard class build. Or you can just be Path of the Giant Barbarian and get really big. Even the less exciting class additions like Oath of the Crown Paladin are feature complete with like new dialogue from the Oathbreaker Paladin if you want to go down that route. The new classes are awesome. Now, one thing we respected about the developers here is that they don't really care about balance all that much when they come up with a new subclass. Like it just seems like if it sounds cool, they do it. And we like it here. They might try to rein in some of the truly broken stuff, but for the most part, they're just doing what they think is interesting. Some of these classes are just going to be flat out better than other ones. From our experience so far, the Hexblade is very powerful, and that's okay. It's a single player co-op game. Like it doesn't need to be perfectly balanced. Their goal here seems to be to make a bunch of classes that just sound interesting or unique to play, not necessarily ones that don't interfere with what's already available. I mean, like, listen, that they even bothered to include that many new things here completely free is just fantastic. And that's only a portion of what this final patch provides. The other really noteworthy addition is the photo mode, which we always love talking about when we can. It might not sound like much to some people, but they really put in the effort here. This is one of the most robust photo modes that we've seen. There are a lot of options. So many that like you can pose your party, you can change the camera, you can screw around with the poses and the facial expressions. It's excellent. I think the fandom, like the hardcore fandom, is gonna run freaking wild with this thing. Sure, like sometimes it looks a little uncanny, as all photo modes kind of get when you're messing around, but it's cool. It's just part of the experience. I don't know. They've also finally brought in proper crossplay. So now PC, Xbox, and PlayStation players can all join up together for a game. But to get it to work, you'll all have to sign into your Larian account. It's not as seamless as would be ideal, but it's good enough that they're even offering the option at all, especially after all this time. Oh yeah, and while this doesn't affect me at all as a PC player, that's where I played this, they did finally get split screen up and running for Xbox Series S consoles. I have no idea what the performance looks like there, like we haven't seen it for ourselves, but the fact that they got it in and it's working after all that hubbub is great. On top of that, there's just endless bug fixes, gameplay tweaks, stability improvements, optimization passes, scripting fixes, art updates, animation fixes, and UI improvements, stuff that like we haven't even scratched the surface of yet. It is a lot, but the thing that sticks out the most to us is that they finally 100% made it so knocking out Minthara will make her appear in Moonrise Tower later. The old trick that felt more like a weird exploit is finally just a part of the game, so you can finally just recruit Minthara without being evil. They've even added some more dialogue options from her, so she feels a little bit less like a half-baked optional character. All the non-origin companions are still missing some interactions and still kind of feel like later additions like that they've always been, but it's appreciated that Larian has taken the time to at least try to flesh out some of these guys a little bit more. As someone who's only been hopping back in Baldur's Gate 3 once in a while, the new in-game mod manager is pretty awesome. It got added back in patch 7, and it makes downloading and managing mods a snap. It's some of the best, most seamless mod support we've seen in a game in a while. And patch 8 added some improvements to the system as well. So they've added partial level editing that allows creators to mess around with existing levels and mix things up by dropping in new NPCs and objects and enemies into pre-existing locations, kind of bringing us one step closer to true custom campaigns. I don't see this ever going like full Neverwinter Nights, but that would be pretty amazing if someone was about to really break open the toolkit and make a new story or something. The community has already done incredible things here. At this rate, it does kind of feel like we're not going to get something official from Larian in the Forgotten Realms again anytime soon, so if it takes fans to expand on the story, then what the hell, why not? Anyway, most of the actual bug fixes and tweaks are small, but after taking a little while to once again immerse ourselves in this world, gotta say that on the whole, the experience does feel smoother than it used to. Performance across the board seems a lot more stable, especially in Baldur's Gate proper, because there's just so much going on there. The UI feels a little more clean and readable, and the early game balance feels a bit more fair. But maybe that's just us being a little less clueless this time around when it comes to the mechanics. Even with everything added in the final patch, it's really just technically still the same Baldur's Gate 3 as before. You know, don't expect like a completely different thing, but it's more stable, fewer hitches, less frustration. There are still some issues with the presentation. You know, some of the in-game cutscenes can be a little awkward, but for the most part, these are all minor complaints when you're talking about a game this open to player expression. They've done a lot to add to the experience in the last few major patches. You know, they put in more Dark Urge interactions if you're nasty, if you're doing that playthrough. They added in full-blown evil endings. The post-launch support has been great across the board. It's not a full expansion or anything like that, but they really have added a significant amount to the game that can be hard to notice unless you're going back for a full playthrough. It's all little things here and there and all over the place. A new bit of dialogue here, you know, a new way to resolve a quest here, and all the stuff that used to be confusing or awkward has been cleaned up or swept away. Now, with a game this big, there are still issues with so many options for how to play through it. There are going to be edge cases even now, but at least in our experience, the game overall feels like it's ending in a much better place overall. So at the end of the day, what is the final consensus on Baldur's Gate 3? Well, when I did the Before You Buy, I said it then, I still feel the same way. It's just an incredible game. It's one of the best RPGs. In many ways, it's an anomaly. A huge crossover hit in a genre that everybody thought was kind of dead and buried, or not mainstream, at least. In some ways, it was a safe bet. I mean, they're taking a known property, Baldur's Gate, and then, of course, the world there, and they make a new game out of it, but their decision to make the game as hardcore as it ended up being was a big gamble, especially with how much money they pumped into the production values. And they nailed it. It's a game the studio didn't seem to compromise on, and it paid off big. It just goes to show that like a great hook, some characters that the audience can latch onto, and excellent production values can go a long way. That last one is important. You know, the CRPG genre has been chugging along for years, and while these games are often pretty damn good, the graphics and like the locked isometric perspective definitely limited the audience. Like I said, it never became like this absolutely huge mainstream thing. What got Baldur's Gate 3 to break through was the graphics, the presentation. You know, it sounds a little shallow, but it can be true. The free camera, the excellent character models, all the freedom. It told people that this was a game to really pay attention to. They got people in on that shiny stuff, and then they nailed it with just a good hardcore RPG. It's just a great one, no matter how you look at it. You know, the focus on smaller but more dense locations just works so well to give the game kind of like this almost immersive sim impression where it feels like you can do almost anything. You have so many options. And it's not just all smoke and mirrors or like marketing talking points. It's like the most remarkable thing about the game. I think it's a game not without its flaws. Act 1 is still very strong and the story gets a little unfocused by Act 3, but still it's an adventure worth playing through. It's a game where it's easy to get into analysis paralysis where, you know, it's hard to decide what choices you actually are gonna make, because there are definitely some wrong and some right ones. Not all, but when you do something wrong and essentially screw up your game, it can be a little frustrating, but it's also, on the flip side, just so impressive to see the game roll with the punches, roll with it, whatever you throw at it. The game has writing, the game has questing, the game has actions for whatever dumb mistake you usually do. It's a lot though. Like, we respect it for having real consequences attached to your actions, but it can also be a pretty exhausting game to play, especially the first time through. But man, when it clicks, it clicks. And while Larian has made some pretty big tweaks to Dungeons and Dragons combat, if you just cannot stand turn-based combat, then playing this thing, you know, you might not like it. To really get a grip with the ins and outs of how everything works, you're gonna have to do some reading. It's just inevitable to understand what's really going on behind the hood. But ultimately, this is a game worth the extra effort required to get into it. It's a game built for a specific audience. You know, Larian, like we keep saying, they made the game that they seemed like they wanted to make. And it just so happened that there were a lot of people out there looking for the same thing, or at least really jived with it. It's their best game yet, and if you're somehow at all interested but still haven't taken the jump, then, I mean, well, there's not really a better time than now to give it a shot. I think it's on sale, or it often goes on sale. It took us like 100 hours, or over 100 hours or so, I think, if I remember, for the first playthrough, and it's got a ton of replayability. It's awesome. What else is there to say? The game was good like 2 years ago, and it's even better now. More ways to play, fewer bugs, and just a better experience overall. And honestly, it was a good excuse to talk about it again here today. But that's a before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I'll give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. And now I want to hear yours down in the comments. Have you been playing this game since it released? Did you jump in late? Have you been playing since early access? Would love to know your opinions, your experience, maybe on console, because our footage here is PC. And if you are playing that new split screen co-op on Xbox Series S, definitely let us know how it's going. Either way, thanks for letting us talk about Baldur's Gate 3 again here. If you like this video, clicking the like button helps us out. We really appreciate it. And if you're new, consider subscribing, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thought you was busy with the foul bloods in Elson's Grove. Sucker punching strangers. That short bit, right?